Hello everyone, it's me again, finally recording another video because thankfully my voice and my throat are doing better now and I haven't had any incidents. If you've watched my last two videos, you know what I'm talking about. I kinda had some things happen that messed up my throat for a bit and I couldn't talk right and my voice sounded all ugh, you know, not great. But I'm doing better now, so I decided to record this video because I got a couple of comments on the video called This Is My Last Resort, saying that I'm apparently good at telling a story, which I've never thought that about myself, but yeah, so let's see, I've got them up here. The comments, the people who commented are Dingleberry Salad and Scrummy74. They said, I'm good at telling stories, I'm a great storyteller, and so maybe that could be something that I do, which is why I'm now recording this video. I decided to make a video reading this short story that I wrote when I was in high school. Now this short story is one of the things available on my on my coffee shop. You know, I have that website where you can help me out of the situation that I'm in. But I have a shop where you can go to get this short story or a collection of the poetry that I wrote, because I used to write poetry too. And both of those things, the short story and the poetry, are $1 each. $1 minimum, or you can pay more if you're feeling generous, but minimum $1 for the short story and the poetry. $1 for the short story, $1 for the poetry. Okay, but yes, I'm going to read you the short story, and maybe if you like it, you can go get the PDF version, the digital version, off of my shop if you want to, because though I wrote this in high school, and it's been a while since I read it, but the last time I read it I was like, it's actually still not that bad, even though I did write it in high school. But it's called The Wolf and the Owl, and here you can kind of see it. I had to cover up my last name because my last name is on there, but yeah. And I won't even try to find that picture again because I found that picture of the wolf and the owl when I was in high school, so I probably won't even be able to find it again. Especially not with the way things are right now on the internet. Don't even know what's freaking real anymore, man. It's crazy. Okay, anyway, I'm going to start reading now because I've been rambling at the start of this for way too long. And this is called The Wolf and the Owl by me, Shelby. There once was a wolf who had everything it could ever ask for. Early on in its life, it had many things of value, especially sentimental. However, the wolf was selfish and uncaring, and didn't realize the true value of everything it had. That is, until the day it finally lost everything. It slowly but surely lost any friends that it had, and one day, finally, became a lone wolf. The wolf then had no place to go, and no other creatures to turn to. It wandered from place to place for what seemed like an eternity. Then finally, after a long, hard year of loneliness, it was once again accepted back into the life it had once lost. The wolf became happy once again, and for another year also, things went back to normal. The wolf thought for sure everything would stay that way, but little did it know, it would soon revert back to its old ways, and even worse than before. When the year finally came to an end, the wolf was still happy. However, the wolf would start the new year by finding out that many things had changed. It was still accepted for the most part, but there were still many creatures who thought poorly of it and would treat it with great unkindness. Because of this, the wolf would become filled with great feelings of anger. Thus, the wolf, though unintentionally, would begin to push those closest to it away, one by one. Then one day, the wolf would commit the act that would take some time for it to redeem itself for. The wolf was gathered with other creatures, some its friends at the time, some it wasn't acquainted with. All the creatures were going about their own business, when the wolf's anger finally got the best of it. In a sudden burst of rage, the wolf lashed out at the creature nearest to it, almost but not quite hurting it in some way. However, this near-violent act, which could not be undone, would leave the wolf as it had been 2 years before. The wolf was lost. It was sad, lonely, and wished it had friends, even just one, that it could turn to. The wolf finally went out on its own and, for the rest of that year, would go through great change. Yes, the wolf finally opened its eyes, realizing why it had been so shunned by the other creatures. To be truly free, the wolf knew it would have to work to tame the beast that had grown within it, the beast called anger. Day in and day out, the wolf worked to control its explosive emotions. As time went by, the work slowly paid off. The wolf became humble. After that, the wolf was once again, and this time permanently, accepted by the other creatures. The wolf had truly changed, and all the other creatures couldn't help but notice. Some creatures still kept their distance, but the wolf was able to not only make new friends, but regain old ones as well. Though the rest of the year was peaceful, it was also quite uneventful. Besides being kind to the friends it had made and regained, the wolf didn't have a lot else going for it. The days went by slowly, and at first, the wolf didn't really notice. It also didn't realize that what seemed like one of the smallest changes at first would be what would forever change its life. It was a change that would eventually cause the wolf to experience things it never could have imagined. One day after sunset, as it was wandering through the woods, it began to hear strange rustling noises. It stopped walking, looked around, and sniffed the air. Then, out of nowhere came an owl, which flew almost directly into the wolf before perching itself on a nearby branch. The wolf didn't know what to think, so it asked the owl what it was doing. The owl was somewhat hesitant to answer, but it eventually explained to the wolf that owls are nocturnal creatures, which means they mostly roam at night. The wolf became interested in the owl, and decided it would try to become friends with it. So they talked a while longer before finally going their separate ways for the night. It wasn't long before the wolf and the owl started seeing more and more of each other, and for the next few years, they would grow to become great friends. The wolf was always very happy to see the owl when it did, so it would always try its best to make sure the owl would be happy to see it as well. However rare it might have been, if ever the owl needed something, the wolf would always try hard to be of some use to it if it could. Then finally, the wolf started realizing something. It loved and cared about the owl more than any friend it had ever made. It also realized the truth that, no matter how much it longed for togetherness, their time together would eventually come to an end. And what made the wolf so longing of the owl? Perhaps the best explanation would be that the wolf longed for the owl's freedom, for it never seemed to be bothered by something as petty as emotions. There were times that the wolf felt lonely, because the owl did have plenty of other friends, who the wolf had no trouble getting along with, yet it still wished it could have more time with only the owl. It seemed to the wolf that the owl was always doing things for it, so it wanted to find some way to pay back the owl for all its kindness before the time would finally end. More than anything, however, the wolf just wanted to tell the owl how it really felt. Although it wondered if it would just be better to keep everything within itself, so that the owl wouldn't feel sadness because of it. It was used to enduring pain alone, so what difference would it make? After thinking about that for some time, the wolf wondered if it had ever really been to use of the owl. There's noise outside. After thinking about that for some time, the wolf wondered if it had ever really been of use to the owl during all their times together, or anyone for that matter. Then it realized it didn't matter, because when all was finally said and done, it would still end up alone, just like it had always been. So the wolf swore then and there that, no matter how little time it had left with the owl, while they could still be together, it would make sure the owl wouldn't regret a second spent with the wolf. The owl was always so carefree, so the wolf refrained from talking of emotional matters, and instead buried them deep within itself. The wolf changed once again, this time becoming numb to any emotions it previously would feel quite often. This would not last long, however, for the wolf could not control its urges and the deepest feelings of its heart. With only a short time left with the owl, the wolf found itself getting more and more distraught. The wolf knew what it wanted, yet it couldn't fully understand why it did. It began to cry frequently whenever it was alone, finding places where no one could hear it howling of sadness. More than anything, the wolf wanted to stay with the owl. The wolf spent great amounts of time lamenting on this, although it never showed any sign of it whenever it was around other creatures, especially the owl. The wolf wondered how it became this way, so emotional and weak, when it had once been so strong, when it used to have hardly a care in the world. The only answer to that is the fact that the wolf's heart was changed entirely, not only by the owl, but by the entire world around it. That is something that no creature can avoid. Before long, the time finally came for the wolf and the owl to part ways. By this time, though, the wolf had found the light. It had decided beforehand that, even if it did have to leave the owl, and for however long, it realized deep within its soul that that would not matter. As long as it kept the wonderful memories it had of the owl would be with it wherever it went. However, in preparation, the wolf had created a very special personal gift for the owl. With that gift, the wolf left the owl with one simple and final message. Don't forget me, my friend. I love you and you'll always be in my heart. The end. It actually says the end. So yeah, I wrote that when I was in high school. I don't remember what year it was. Maybe sophomore, junior? Jesus, I don't even remember. One of those years. But yeah. So, I had a bit of a rough time when I was in school too, from time to time. And man, having rough times now as an adult too. But yeah, I wrote this and based it off of actual events that happened, and it was based off of stuff that happened back when I was in high school, but like, I feel like some of this stuff could apply to right now as well. So yeah, that was my story, The Wolf and the Owl. Sorry I had to pause for a second there earlier because there was like a woodpecker or something outside. But yeah, I hope you liked it. Maybe you did, maybe you'll want to go get digital copy of it on my coffee shop, but if not, that's fine. Just, you know, that's an option to help me out of the situation that I'm in. But yeah. So this is the only short story that I have. I wrote others back when I was in high school, but they are they are long gone because I wrote them for like assignments for my English class. I wish I still had copies of those somewhere, but yeah, no, they don't exist anymore, I'm pretty sure. So if I want to make more videos like this, if you guys want to see more videos like this, I guess I'd have to start reading some of my poetry from the poetry collection that's also available for purchase on my shop. So if that's something you want to see, let me know. But yeah, I could also try writing another short story. It's been a long time since I wrote anything like this. But maybe I could give it a try at some point again. See how that goes. I'm not really sure what I would write about though. I'd have to think of what I even wanted to write about. That's the toughest part. Even though I've written poetry again recently as like last year, for a while there I just lost all my inspiration and I couldn't think of anything to write about. But I wrote a couple poems last year after being in a rut for like a long time. So maybe I can write a short story again. Well, let me know what you guys think, and yeah. I'll be back with another video at some point. Shouldn't be too long from now. It's been like 5 days, at the time of this recording, 5 days, since my last video. Tomorrow, which is probably when this video will go up, it'll be 6. But yeah. Maybe I'll be able to have a video out sooner than like a week. But it'll probably be different because I'm gonna try to record a gaming video. So if you're into that, I love video games. That's another thing that I really love. So I wanna do gaming content too. So I'm gonna try to record a gaming video. And yeah, if you're into that, hopefully I'll see you there. And I'll see you later. Bye.